Hello, everyone, and welcome to ISHR's virtual end-of-year celebration. It is really wonderful to see that so many of you were able to join us today. Today, we are marking the end of another unusual academic year. It has been a year of emptier classrooms, a quieter campus, a year of remote meetings, virtual backgrounds, and course syllabi filled with Zoom etiquette reminders. My personal favorite thing, please remember to wear pants while on camera. It has also been a year through which many of us have had to grapple with making difficult decisions, overcoming monumental challenges, and in some instances, we have experienced devastating loss and grief. Through all of this, you have continued to inspire us, not just with your resilience to continue doing the work in the classroom, but also with your unwavering commitment to your peers, to your communities, and to the dignity of all who have experienced injustice. So today is about celebrating all of you and your accomplishments. I will not attempt to convey here the myriad ways in which this graduating class has enriched the Institute and the Columbia community more broadly. I will only say that we are incredibly proud to count you among our graduates, and we feel very privileged to share this important milestone with you, the culmination of all of your hard work and perseverance. So to all of you, a big congratulations. I will now turn it over to Professor Elazar Barkan, who will say a few words.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm following Gergana, who has said much of what one says on such occasion. And this has been a good outcome year at the personal level for mostly your encouragement and perseverance have prepared you for a professional life. But at the same time, it's been a terrible year for humanity. And it's not going to get any better at the global level anytime soon, where inequality and when inequality is completely dominating the news. And we must remember when this happens, when we celebrate individual success, to pay attention to what is more important to you in many ways, and this is the well-being of humanity. It's important to take the long-term perspective, and 100 days ago, we have turned the corner, an important corner, with the US embarking on leadership, which we have been deprived of for at least 4 years previously. Your professional career engages all facets of life from a moral set of considerations. And so we must commemorate, we must mark the difficulties that we have, but this is not to hinder your celebration. That is to make it deeper and more profound. You have not had the easiest of times so far in this professional career that you have chosen, but that is unlikely to change. You've decided to embark on the most difficult perspective, because human rights is not a place where you get satisfied and settled. It always presents you with new challenges, new missions. So as Gergana said, we're very proud to have you among our alumni. We look forward to your accomplishments and for you to keep in touch with us and keep us on our toes in terms of how do we do what we do in the best possible way. So we have turned the corner, but there are many more corners ahead of us. Let me just congratulate you again and wish you all the best and keep in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Barkan, for these words. It is now my pleasure to give the floor to two of our students who will address the graduating class and share reflections of their time in the program. First, I would like to introduce Irina Karkanis from the Human Rights major at Columbia College.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Good, great. Well, professors, faculty, family, friends, and of course, the class of 2021, congratulations on this extraordinary milestone. While I certainly wish we were in person to commemorate our achievements today, I must admit that the virtual medium has some pros as it relates to speech delivery. If I begin to stutter or tear up, it's almost certainly a Zoom glitch. And if my jokes don't necessarily land, we can all just pretend it was a virtual simulation or a figment of your imagination. In fact, this new pandemic moment has forced us to flex our imaginative spirit like never before. From transforming the way we assemble and protest in the imperative of social distancing, ingenuity is now at the core of everything we do. But we as students in the Institute of the Study of Human Rights are no stranger to this new reality. In fact, after 4 years, I think it's fair to say that imagination is at the very core of the human rights enterprise. As scholars and practitioners of human rights, we constantly have to imagine just societies using political theory. We have to re-articulate codified constitutional laws in the spirit of equal rights. We have to push ourselves to move beyond reform and enter into the arena of abolition. I can't think of anything more important or more imaginative. We're no longer coloring within the lines or even coloring outside the lines. We're ripping up the paper, collaging the pieces, using a little chiaroscuro, employing a Jackson Pollock drip method. Sorry, I just submitted my art home final last week, so I got a little sidetracked. But you guys get the point. Whether we're reconciling with how testimonials of trauma muddle objective research, or we're delineating who is categorized under collective versus individual rights, there are no longer any clear lines or simple answers. Human rights to me is a constant dance of nuance and complexity. It's even difficult to define into a single academic discipline. Like many of you, I've taken extraordinary classes in 4 languages across the fields of history, philosophy, literature, and law, because human rights bleeds into everything we do. Just take a look at the breadth and depth of independent research done for senior thesis competitions this week. Rowena discussed a cyberethnography of non-binary menstruators. YUKI explored the exclusion of Japanese Latin Americans from the Civil Liberties Act of 1988. REEM focused on advocacy of disforcibly placed persons in Lebanon, and so many more. There's a real richness and exigency to our studies. But more often than not, I wish there wasn't so much to learn or research. In fact, I think we're the only Columbia department that hopes that we all go unemployed after graduation. It's actually the dream if this scholarship didn't need to exist. Engaging with issues of genocide, rampant racism, violence, and intergenerational trauma carries its weight. A few lighthearted jokes can't avoid the fact that we're stepping into a pretty scary and grim world. But I feel some more solace, knowing that we're now confronting this world with a more robust toolkit. We've got a shiny Pantone blue Columbia degree in our back pocket. We've got some inflatable lions that I think makes everyone super happy. But in all seriousness, we also have more robust research methodologies, the training to weaponize language for good, and most importantly, a new network of friends, advocates, and professors who also share the same mission for a better society. In classic Columbia fashion, I'm going to end this speech with a little test. Let's take it back to day 1 of human rights. Intro to human rights. Define human rights. What are the core tenets? Well, of course, it's that they're non-derogable and inalienable. They belong to all of us. But I don't need to tell you that. You guys know this like the back of your hand. So I'll give you a harder one. What does it mean to be human? This is the question that has surfaced and resurfaced time and time again during the COVID-19 pandemic. How do we love one another? How do we inhabit the planet that we all share? How do we work from 9 to 5 or from 5 to 9 for that matter? The question of what it means to be human and what it means to fight for that dignity is admittedly daunting for us 22-year-olds. But I'm so proud of us all for continuing to engage with this question on the daily, whether we become future lawyers, academics, protesters, or artists. Let us continue to fight for the kind of society that we imagined when we were young children coloring in our little storybooks. I am so proud to be your classmate, your student, your friend, and I think we all know that we've got a world of issues to deal with. But for today, let us not forget to remember the little and big moments, to celebrate, to cheers, to love, and to go a little crazy, because we've worked so hard and we really deserve it. So with that, I say to you all, congratulations, graduates. We did it.
Thank you, Arina, and congratulations to you as well. Thank you for this really touching remarks. Next, I would like to give the floor to Daniela Araya from the Human Rights Studies MA program.
Leaving Colombia during COVID-19 felt like a big unfinished chapter in my life. As an international student, it took almost 1 decade of my life in savings and enormous amounts of preparation and sacrifice to come to Colombia. But paradoxically, my time at the university was gone in the blink of an eye. A part of me was heartbroken returning home. The biggest heartbreak was that I never had a chance to say goodbye. But more importantly, I never had a chance to say thank you. Despite all this, I keep comforting knowing that I experienced at Colombia what it is to be cared for in a foreign country. I felt part of a community, and I felt that each one of my professors at GSAS treated us with true empathy and humanity. Colombia's faculty showed us the true appreciation and commitment the university has for its students, especially during those very challenging circumstances. And Colombia showed me that this is a university that upholds academic standards dearly, but also human values. And for that reason, I will always be proud of being Colombia's alumni. And I would like to express my gratitude to each one of the members of the faculty. I would also like to honor each one of my classmates because they too have their own stories of personal sacrifice and hard work. The truth is that some of us will have the chance to wear the cap and gown, walk in the streets of New York with pride, and see the Empire State Building lit in Columbia blue. And some of us will not have a chance to do any of that, including me. So regardless of whatever you are, whatever you're wearing, and whoever you're with, you made it. Congratulations. As one of the few Latin American students in the cohort and one of the single Costa Rican students in the history of this program, I wanted to call upon you all, my classmates, to uphold with honor what this program taught us and what human rights mean. My deepest desire is that you remember those in remote geographies that, like me, are often unrepresented. If every student from this class becomes a true ambassador for human rights, then the mission of the program will be achieved. And this is the time when knowledge meets with practice. And we should make a difference, but also be the difference. And not only because we are Colombia's graduates, but mainly because we believe in justice and truth, because we are committed to human rights. A week ago, when the Escazú Agreement came into force, a landmark regional treaty for environmental defenders that happens to be named after a city in my own country, Costa Rica, I felt hopeful about the world. And just 2 days before that, the sentence in George Floyd's case was delivered. And again, I feel hopeful about justice. I could make an endless list of all the human rights violations that have increased during the pandemic. But today, I'd rather concentrate on the accomplishments, because this is a time to be hopeful too. I hope that we all remember our time at Columbia as a sign that even in adversity, there can be success, there can be joy, and there can be advances for those who need them most. Our time to say goodbye has come, but we're called upon a mission that will keep us connected, regardless of wherever you are. And that mission is what brought us to Columbia in the first place. Now is the time to embrace with passion our calling to human rights. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Daniela. Excuse me, I started tearing up. So I just needed a second, but thank you very much. Thank you to you. Thank you to Irina for your remarks and the message of hope and perseverance and encouragement to continue speaking out and taking action against injustice. We are so grateful to count you among our graduates. Thank you both. We would now like to take a moment to acknowledge our students and their accomplishments. I will attempt to share my screen very quickly, hopefully without any technical glitches. And hopefully you're now seeing a very pretty picture, a photo of Columbia with a big sign that says welcome to ISHRs. Okay, great. And I would like to invite Professor Winkler to present the recipients of the undergraduate departmental honors and prizes.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate all of you, because what you've achieved over the last year, I mean, it's been amazing. Your perseverance, your ability to study, your ability to work on your projects. It's been amazing to witness that, and I couldn't be more proud of you. So congratulations. And then it was great on Monday for the School of General Studies, and then again tomorrow for Columbia College, to see so many of our human rights students inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. So congratulations to Abby Edwards, to Griffin Jones, to Rachel Gordon, to Julia Kopczynska, to Lorenzo Lamo, to SAFIA Southey, to Phuong To, to Arina Kafkanis, and to Kendra Newman for being inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. And after writing quite a few recommendations for many of you, I'm really happy to, and the same for Professor Nettlefield and for so many others among the faculty, I'm really proud of you for that achievement. Congratulations. Can you move to the next slide? Further congratulations go to the students who have received departmental honors. And I can tell you, if it were up to me, all of you who wrote their theses, in particular over the semester, I think you all deserve departmental honors, because it was quite a process this year, and you've all been doing amazing work and amazing projects, and there should be more students who receive departmental honors. But let me congratulate in particular Abby Edwards and Rachel Gordon and SAFIA Southey from the School of General Studies, and Kendra Newman and Maud Weiss for receiving departmental honors and for really working on amazing projects over the course of this entire year, and completing their human rights projects under very difficult circumstances. So congratulations. And last but not least, we have the MYRA KRAFT Prize for Superior Academic Achievement, as it's called, in the study of human rights. And those prizes go to Grace Minor and Kendra Newman. Congratulations.
Congratulations, and thank you, Professor Winkler. Congrats, everyone. Next, I would like to invite Professor Nettlefield to introduce the winners of this year's thesis competition and the recipients of ISHR's Research Fellowship.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to extend my congratulations to all of the graduates, and it is my great pleasure to announce the winners of the Human Rights Research Fellowship, Abby Edwards, Naima Kane, Luis Gasca Trevino, and our graduate winners, Alexia Cervello and Neha Tadipali. Congratulations. Next slide, please. Next is the Human Rights Thesis Competition. We had a wonderful event on Monday, which I think will be posted on YouTube soon for those of you who couldn't make it. Our undergraduate winner is SAFIA SOUTHEY for her thesis, Repatriation versus Resettlement, the Role of UNRWA in the Stalemate of the Palestinian Refugee Crisis. And SAFIA also took home the Audience Award. So congratulations, SAFIA. Our graduate winner is YUKI Nishimura for her thesis, Human Rights or Civil Rights, the Exclusion of Japanese Latin Americans from the Civil Liberties Act of 1988. Congratulations, Sophia and Yuki, well done. And as you can see from this map, our undergraduate and graduate thesis writers are literally almost covering the globe, addressing a wide range of topics. And in the next slide, we have a word cloud of the subjects of the research being done in the department. And I'm always continually impressed with the quality of the research, with the lengths to which students go to get those interviews, especially this year, which was particularly challenging, trying to get people to meet up over Zoom when they already had Zoom fatigue. And just, it's a pleasure to read so many amazing pieces of scholarship. So congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Professor Nettelfeld, and congratulations from me as well on the amazing accomplishments that you have all achieved. So next, I would like to invite my colleague Monica Olvera, who will introduce the winners of this year's Human Rights Essay Contest.
Thank you very much, Gergana. Thank you to all of those who participated in this year's essay contest. We received dozens of submissions, and really they were all truly fantastic. We would like to highlight our winners, our undergraduate winners, Lauren Elizabeth Buhner, who is a human rights concentrator for her essay titled Transboundary Water Governance and the Human Right to Water in Latin America, as well as Lexi Young, who's a human rights major, for her paper titled Crisis in Canada, How Nonprofits Are Mobilizing to Address Systemic Inequality Faced by Canada's Indigenous Populations. And onto our graduate winners now, we have Rosario Grimalgora from Columbia Law School for her paper on advancing reproductive justice in Latin America through a transitional justice lens. And lastly, Neha Tadipali for her paper on the devaluation of civilian lives and analysis of the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. Congratulations to all four of you, really extraordinary work, and we are certainly thrilled to read these.
Thank you, Monica, and congrats to the winners of the essay contest from me as well. Also, a special thank you to the students and the faculty who participated in the selection of the thesis competition and essay contest winners this year. We couldn't have done it without you, so many thanks for that. So I will now take a moment to switch. I will stop the screen share for a second, and we wanted to share with you a short video with photos and messages from our graduating class. I will ask you to bear with me for one moment as I switch screen shares, and I hope you enjoy it. thank you to all of you who submitted photos and messages and helped us create this wonderful memento for the graduating class. If you haven't done so already but wish to submit a picture or message, please send us an email to humanrightscity@columbia.edu. We will continue to combine all submissions for a period of time, and we'll share them as a digital yearbook with the graduating class. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Loretta Ross. Professor Ross's activism began at the age of 16 when she was tear gassed at a demonstration as a first-year student at Howard University. As part of a 50-year history in social justice activism, she was the national coordinator of the Sister-Song Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective and co-created the theory of reproductive justice in 1994. She was national co-director of the April 25th, 2004 March for Women's Lives in Washington, D.C., the largest protest march in US history at the time. She founded the National Center for Human Rights Education in Atlanta in 1996 and was previously the Program Research Director at the Center for Democratic Renewal National Anti-Klan Network, where she led projects researching hate groups and working against all forms of bigotry with universities, schools, and community groups. She launched the Women of Color program for the National Organization for Women and was National Program Director of the National Black Women's Health Project. She was one of the first African-American women to direct a rape crisis center in the 1970s, launching her career by pioneering work on violence against women. Professor Ross is a visiting associate professor at Smith College. She has written 3 books on reproductive justice, and her book, Calling In, the Calling Out Culture, is forthcoming in 2021. Professor Ross has appeared on CNN, BET, Lead Story, Good Morning America, The Donahue Show, the National Geographic Channel, and the Charlie Rose Show, among many, many others. Professor Ross, we are delighted to welcome you today. The floor is yours.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Well, it's my honor to say congratulations to y'all. It's always a great development to be at that next stage of your lives. I myself didn't graduate college till I was 55 years old, so I understand as an adult how important it is to be at that milestone. I graduated high school in 1970 and college in 2007. So don't do as I did, do as I say. Continue on to get all the education you can when you can, because it will pay off for you in life. It is my honor, of course, to have a chance to speak to you very briefly. How did I get to human rights and why have I dedicated myself to it is going to be the topic of my speech. I got to human rights not intentionally. I actually intended to become a scientist. And when I first went to college in 1970, I majored in chemistry and physics because I'm very much a STEM girl, except that my plumbing kept getting in the way. I was a survivor of incest and rape, and then I was sterilized when I was 23 years old. And so those combination of events led me into feminism without any plan on my part. It was about explaining what had happened to me and why I did not have control over if and when I had sex, if and when I had a baby, if and when I would even have future babies. So that's how I came into social justice activism. But my whole career in social justice activism took a sharp turn because in 1990, I started working for a man called Reverend C.T. Vivian, who had been an aide to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Reverend Vivian and I had a deep conversation after the Oklahoma City bombing, the Murrow building. Most of you are too young to remember how Timothy McVeigh blew up that building. And the conversation was about how, with his intimate knowledge of Dr. King, how Dr. King meant to build not a civil rights movement, but a human rights movement. And when he told me that, I went, "What you talking about?" Because everything I knew about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was civil rights leader, like it was all one word. And so he went to his library shelf and pulled down a copy of Dr. King's last Sunday sermon, May 31st, 1968. And in that, Dr. King called on us to build a US-based human rights movement. And I was astounded when I heard those words, because as I said, everybody told me Dr. King had a dream. Nobody told me he had a plan. That we were supposed to be building a US-based human rights movement that called attention to the human rights violations that our country is doing domestically and internationally. And I'm so sorry that his assassination kept us from that news, because we should have known that a long time ago. And the fact that it was in 1995 that I was hearing about this is why Reverend Vivian and I, along with Shulamith Kernick, who's a Israeli-American, called the mother of human rights education, and Abdullahi Al-Nahim, who's a Muslim lawyer, founded the National Center for Human Rights Education in 1996. Because I figured if I didn't know about that, and I'd been doing social justice work for 25 years, how many other people didn't know about that? What I also found out was that there was tremendous resistance among certain parts of our country to teaching the American public about their human rights, because there is legitimate fear that if people knew what their human rights are, they would demand them, that they wouldn't be acquiescing to policies that are human rights violating policies that are done overseas in our name and domestically in our name. As a matter of fact, I had a very memorable meeting with a member of the Clinton administration in 1997. At the time, the Clinton administration was promoting a program called Goals 2000, which was about revolutionizing America's educational system. And so I met with the Clinton administration because I wanted them to include human rights education in the Goals 2000 plan. And the representative I met with, who I will not call out because they don't need us shaming and blaming her, but anyway, she read with me and was very patient as she listened to me. And she said, "That's a wonderful plan, Loretta, but that would contradict our policy agenda." And I remember reviewing those words in my head: contradict our policy agenda, contradict our policy agenda. I mean, mind you, this was the year, 2 years after Hillary Clinton had declared in Beijing, women's rights are human rights. So what policy agenda are you talking about that teaching the American school children about their human rights would be in violation of? And it finally clicked on me, because I can be slow. She said, I said, "Oh, you mean welfare reform?" And she nodded, not wanting to, inflame me any further. I said, "Wait a moment. Are you telling me that the Clinton administration doesn't want the American school child to learn about human rights because they're enacting a policy that will violate those human rights, which is not taking care of poor people?" And she quickly said, "Well, I wouldn't put it that way." And I just as quickly said, "Well, I will." Because I just wanted to make sure that I'm repeating what I just heard. So it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. I'm sorry, let me ignore this phone. Democrat or Republican, we are dealing with people who profit from injustice in our country. And of course, as long as justice is profitable, they don't want us to do anything about it. And it doesn't matter political affiliation. It doesn't matter a lot of things. But so I want to encourage y'all as human rights leaders and scholars and activists in the future, let's change this situation, not only here in the United States, but to benefit the world. Because I've been to 60 or 70 countries as a human rights activist and feminist. And what they all uniformly tell me is, why don't you go home and get your country's foot off my neck? If you can get your country to stop violating our human rights with your military, with your out of control corporations and stuff, we could take care of addressing our own problems quite well, thank you. So the people around the world say, we don't need political tourists, we need co-conspirators. And I think we should take that very seriously as people who have the privilege of being Americans and the right and the obligation to hold our country accountable for things done in our name that we don't even know about, because the majority of the American public doesn't even know it's taking place. I commissioned a survey in 2000 and I think it was 2004. I'm sorry if I got the date wrong, where it turned out that only 7% of the American public has even heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm sorry, the survey date was 1998. That's right, because it was on the 50th anniversary of the UDHR. So it's very hard to organize people to protect their human rights when they don't even know that they have them. And that's our problem right now. And so I've been transformed by the human rights framework. I'm so sorry that it took 25 years of activism for me to even learn about it from Reverend Vivian, but I'm glad I did. And I'm glad that now we have human rights taking place, education taking place in our colleges and universities, because I really do believe that human rights will be the vision of the 21st century, the same way nonviolence was for the civil rights movement in the 20th century. It's going to be just that important. We can make this the century of human rights and addressing all those problems we have in the world of poverty and militarism and racism and sexism and transphobia and homophobia. Y'all know the litany. I don't have to keep running on. But we're also going to be facing some serious problems. You know, climate change is going to produce 200 million global refugees. How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to deal with the fact that while the demographics are pushing white people in this country into a smaller slice of the population, they are fighting back with a certain viciousness that bespeaks that they would rather overthrow democracy than share it. How are we going to fight that? You know, they were protesting at the Capitol on January 6th, not because white men were being killed by police, not because white votes were counted. They were protesting at the Capitol because Black votes were counted. How are we going to use human rights to address that? And so in closing, I think that human rights is a wonderful framework that contains racial justice, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, the environment, economic justice. Every field of human endeavor is affected by the human rights framework. So it doesn't matter what you do with your life, but if you keep your human rights consciousness with you all along that path, you will make sure that you not only can define what you're fighting against, which is injustice, but human rights provides the answer for what you're fighting for, which is freedom and human dignity, universally for everyone, no matter where they live, what they're born, what their identity is. Those things don't matter because we all have the same human rights, even though we might need something different to protect them. So thank y'all for listening to me today, and congratulations again.
Thank you, Professor Ross. We're so delighted, and it's been such an honor to have you join us today. On behalf of all of us, thank you for taking the time and for sharing your story. What an incredible insight, both into how the civil rights movement transformed into a human rights movement, but also how this framing has helped move us closer to achieving social, racial, environmental, and economic justice for all. So once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And now we are very pleased to welcome our student, Kyra Ray Villanueva. Kyra is a human rights major at Columbia College. She will treat us to a reading of her poem, When You Walk Forward, in honor of the graduating class.
Thank you, Gergana. This is When You Walk Forward. Autumn sips from a sky tip to the side, spilling the clouds on the roads. They are goldening. I fluff their sides like a new lamb, and I take them up, taping them to the ceiling for one more year. They make me papery, the way the breeze nestles the leaves, the way sidewalks keep footsteps. And just like that, your eyes turn to spring, and hundreds of daffodils carry your way to the edge, over dozens of landscapes and portraits, framed with ancient whispers, humming names too familiar. Our names, writ over and over reflections in a shape that is expanding, molding into what is still to come. And when the green of trees finally hugs your back, I promise, all the fireflies from your childhood will light up, dancing, celebrating all the times you have cried and cried to make the ink move to speak your tongue. And just like that, a garden now grows. With each breath, a flower blooms in the spaces you've left.
Thank you, Kyra. Please join me in giving Kyra a big round of applause for sharing this poem with us. We feel so honored and privileged to hear it. Thank you. And now it's time for our celebratory toast. We'd like to invite you all to join us in raising a glass and saying congratulations to all of our graduates. Any glass will do. If you can, please turn on your cameras, raise your glass, and join us in saying congratulations, loud cheers, unmute yourselves, applaud, family, friends, pets, children, everyone is welcome to come into view of the camera. And please join me in saying congratulations, best of luck. We are so incredibly proud of you on your accomplishments, and we can't wait to see what you do next. And we hope that you'll stay in touch. Congrats, everyone.
Yay!
Congratulations, everyone. Congrats. Congratulations, Rowena.
Congratulations, Lena.
Congratulations.
Everyone.
I am going to share my screen for 1 second again, just so you can see, for those of you who wish to submit more photos and messages, so you can see how you may do that. And I'm going to leave the screen share for a bit. Feel free to chat and send each other messages. We'll run the meeting for a little bit longer.
Oh, that coffee's ice cold. Yuck.
So everyone has gone really quiet now, which makes me nervous. So I'll leave this on for 1 second, just so, again, if you wanted to share additional messages and photos, we'll combine them probably in a few weeks and share them with everyone so that you have a memento of your time in the program. And again, best of luck to everyone, and stay in touch, and we can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was great.
Congrats, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Congrats, everybody.
Congrats.
It's been an honor.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye.